Hello spice lovers, welcome to my YouTube channel. Bring on the spice. I found this recipe on YouTube for chili garlic Korean potatoes, so I decided to try it out and rate it. Please like and subscribe to support the channel if you like our content. Let's get started. Today we're going to start out by peeling a potato. It's about 400 grams, roughly 400 grams. And we want to peel it really neatly. We want to get off all the brown spots, all the back. And that's what I'm doing. If there are any dark spots, you can just go over it again. Or if it's too deep, you can use a knife later, which I will be doing because there are some nooks in this potato. So we're done, and now we want to chop the potato into small cubes. Try to get the cubes as evenly as possible, so because we're going to be boiling these and you want them to get cooked at the same time. Okay, so you don't want any of them undercooked or overcooked while the others are on the opposite side of the spectrum. Okay, so we have our sliced potatoes. Next, you want to bring water to a boil, some water just to boil the potatoes, and into that boiling water you want to put in the potatoes. Be careful not to let it get on you, so you do not burn yourself. And you just want to boil it till it's done. You don't want it to be overcooked. Pretty much 7 to 8 minutes will do. Yeah, but you want to constantly check it to make sure it's not overcooked, so it doesn't spill. We're just gonna open up the cover a little bit, maybe even completely. You know what, let's take off the cover and just let it simmer. We're gonna check it again just to see if it's done yet, because remember, we don't want it to be too done, so it still needs some time. Just want to stir it to evenly distribute the potatoes. Okay, so it's been a couple of minutes. Let's check on it now again, because we do not want it to become, yeah, so I think it's pretty much done now. I'll check on some of the other. Yep, it's cooked all the way through, but not really falling apart. Yeah, I think it's done. So we're going to get it out of the water now. Okay. So I'm getting it out of the water. So while it's hot, we're gonna mash it. You want it to be as smooth as possible. Because we're gonna use it to knead. So you want it as smooth as possible. And it should be easier to mash because it's hot. It was a bit difficult with the spoon, so I pulled out my pestle for this. Which makes it so much easier. I know, I don't have a potato masher, but gotta make do with what we have, right? And I don't mash potatoes very often, so I didn't really want to run to the store and get a potato masher that I'm gonna just use once or twice. Also, don't want to pull out the blender because I feel like this is something that you could just easily do manually. If you feel like you want to use a blender, go for it, but I didn't. Another option is to try to use a spoon to mash it through a strainer, a fine strainer, but didn't have the energy for that. I felt like it's just easy to just mash it. But if you feel like you want to do that, go for it. There are many ways to skin a cat, right? More than one way. There's more than one way to skin a cat. So just do you. Just do whatever feels comfortable to you, as long as you get the same result or result that you're, comfortable with. It's already starting to form a dough. We're getting a doughy consistency. So to that, you want to add 180 grams of corn flour. Yes, my corn flour is white, depending on where you live and the type of corn that the corn flour was made with. The color could differ, but however, it is corn flour. We try to mix it in as much as possible. You could try to use your hands, but for me, if you feel more comfortable with a spoon, go ahead and do that, which is what I'm doing here. I want to try to mix it in as much as possible. Okay, I think I've mixed mine in as much as I can, and now you're gonna get some water. You just want to put the water in little batches. What you're going for is a doughy consistency, so try not to put too much in at once. You're probably going to be adding until it forms a dough. Need more than that. Twist the dough, and like I said, make sure to add water in batches because you don't want it to get too soggy. But yeah, you want it to be smooth. Roll out the dough and then keep it here. Yeah, okay, so you keep it to the side, and from this we're going to be making some smaller potato balls, and you want to make sure to roll them out smaller. You will need a plastic bottle pretty much to make an indentation in them. Okay, so I'm just going to try one now. Oh yeah, and you need a little bit of oil to oil the bottle container cap to make sure that it doesn't stick. I'm using some olive oil. You can use any oil of your choice for this. The main goal is just to make sure it does not stick to the dough, pretty much all the dough does not stick to it. Yeah, I also forgot, you should probably oil your hands before you start dealing with the dough, like when you want to start rolling out the balls, so make sure it also doesn't stick too much to your hands. And when you have a pretty smooth ball, you just want to do this like that. We are creating little mushrooms like so. If you feel that the oil is finishing from the bottle, feel free to add a bit more, and also bear in mind that it will swell a little bit in the water, so small balls is totally fine. Let me try to show you a clearer version of what it looks like. That is so pretty. I do like the patterns, or the pattern actually, just one pattern. We are pretty much making tiny mushrooms. Again, repeat, little balls like so, smooth, and then you take the bottle and imprint. You don't want to necessarily go all the way through, you just want a decent indentation. Also, I'm choosing to do it on my hands, because like the indentation, because I don't want it to stick to the top of the board if I press down on the board, and then it's going to be difficult to lift off later, if you catch my drift. So it is better to do it on your hand, like so. And don't forget, if your hand starts to get a bit sticky, feel free to go back, or if the dough starts sticking to your hand or to the bottle, feel free to go back and reuse the olive oil or any oil that you have. You catch my drift. So this is what I rolled out, and I have 32 pieces in total, I think. Of course, yours might differ depending on the sizes of your mushrooms, and also the size of the bottle mouth that you use to make the indentation. So for the next part, you're going to want boiling water like this, because we are going to be boiling the potatoes again. And when you have your water boiling like this, you want to add the dough gently. Oh, and you can use a spoon to lower them in if you know you don't want your hands sticking. Just gently lower them to the bottom of the pot, like so. They're gonna sit at the bottom because they're not done yet, or they're still raw. And when they're done, they're gonna rise back up, or rise back to the surface rather. By the way, I've never really asked what you call this kind of big spoon sieve stuff. Comment down below if you know, because I really don't. I've just always called it like a big sievey spoon, I guess. Well, probably it should have a name. I just don't know what it is. So if you know, please help us out. Comment down below what the name is. And as you can see, it's not like my mushrooms are perfect by any chance. They're just good enough. I'm not always a perfectionist. You know, you want them pretty. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty enough to eat and enjoy, but by no means don't feel any pressure to have a very perfect looking mushrooms. So we know it's boiled when we see all of them float to the surface like this. I'm just going to collect them, and I have an ice bath ready because we want the cooking process to be done with. I only cooked them for, I'd say 2 minutes, 2.5, maybe 3 at most. You don't want them to be overcooked at all. You don't want them overcooked at all. It's just a quick boil. Yeah, that's why we put it on high heat, so we don't have to boil it for very long. So after it's cooled for a while, you can take it out of the water. Here's what it looks like. Well, let's see if I can bring it closer to the camera, like that. And you just want to set it aside in a dish. We'll set that aside for later. Now we're going to make our chili sauce, or our chili sauce. So I'm collecting all the ingredients in a saucepan, and first of all, well, this is my measuring spoon set, which you're going to need. So the first thing I'm going to do is a tablespoon of soy sauce. I like to get it full and leveled. 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. Then we're going to add red chili sauce to it, 1 tablespoon, or as the Koreans call it, gochujang. I think that's how, gochujang. We're going to take 1 tablespoon. I try to get it as leveled as possible. And you're gonna wanna dunk that in. Next, we need a teaspoon of vinegar. You could use regular white vinegar. I'm using apple cider vinegar because here in Portugal, it's really difficult to find white vinegar, and apple cider vinegar is the next substitute. Then 1 teaspoon of sesame seeds, and this is optional, of course, but I'm choosing to add it anyway. It's gonna be extra. Next, we need 1 tablespoon of crushed peanuts. And again, as usual, I'm gonna be crushing mine manually. You could use a dry blender, whatever you want to use to crush it, but you know, I do have a dry blender, but I just find it's sometimes easier to just crush, I guess, manually. So we want a tablespoon of that. And I'm just eyeballing it because, you know, it is not crushed yet. So have to take into consideration that when you do crush it, it's going to settle down a bit. And of course, crush. It doesn't need to be a fine powder. You just want it into tiny or tinier pieces. Here we have the fresh peanuts, and I'm just going to add that in. Then we need a teaspoon of salt. Bear in mind, we didn't really add any seasoning in the dough, so we need as much as we can get in the sauce. And I'm going to add the goju guru, I think. This is pretty much Korean red chili flakes. I'm going to add 1.5 teaspoons because I do want it to be as spicy as possible. But yes, I think it's called goju guru. Please excuse me, excuse my pronunciation. I'm not Korean, so yeah. So yes, I'm gonna add 1.5 teaspoons of that. And finally, I am going to add honey. I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of honey. I'm trying to get it as leveled as possible. Or if you do not have honey, you could also use powdered sugar, 1 tablespoon as well of that. But I do have honey and I tend to prefer that. So, and finally, I am going to add some coriander leaves. I'm choosing to add dry coriander leaves. I'm just eyeballing it because it's more a little bit of flavor, but also it's for the color. I would say it's roughly about 1 teaspoon. You could use fresh as well, but I just chose to use dry. Okay, and that's it for the sauce. Now I want to mix all these together to just form a kind of pasty saucy thingy, which we're going to be using in a minute. Let's mix it together really well. We're going for a sweet, spicy sauce. Not too spicy, but you know, we'll see. It is my first time making it, so we're going to see how it goes. I'm really hopeful that this tastes so good. That's it. Set that aside. Now we're going to make our chili oil, and for that we're going to start out by adding 3 to 4 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm going with 3 just because, you know, I don't want it too oily necessarily, but if you do want to add more oil, feel free. Maybe 1 more tablespoon if you. And 3/3 tablespoon. We let that sizzle for a bit or get a bit hot, warm/hot. Just shaking it to get off all the oil from the spoon. I hate wasting anything. I don't know. It could be a childhood thing. I just grew up that way. You try to get as much out of everything. So I'm just gonna stir the oil around in there, and I'm gonna add the garlic because we're trying to make garlic oil. You don't necessarily want the garlic to burn in there. You just want to be able to flavor the oil with the garlic. So for that, you want it to simmer a bit for a while, but not burn. So you're just gonna turn that around gently. You want the garlic to mix in there, and I'm just simmering it over low heat until it becomes a little bit brown, light brown, just a bit toasty. I don't want it to burn at all. You're gonna want to be checking up on your garlic. You don't want it to get burned, so every once in a while you just give it a little stir. Okay, so it's ready, and we turn off the stove. Now we're gonna just dump our sauce mixture in here. You just want to dump it in. Remember to turn the stove off because we're not trying to cook the whole sauce. We just wanted to make garlic oil. So now we're gonna mix it together. As you can see, the garlic is nice and golden brown, but not burnt. Finally, you want to put in. You want to gently. I'm collecting them because some water collected at the bottom of the plate, and I don't want to add the water into the sauce. So I'm just selecting the mushrooms out of the dish. Now you just want to stir in gently, and you can use a deeper dish for this. I just did not see the need for that. I can be patient. I can take my time and just mix it. Finally, this is what you get. This is what it looks like. Now you can use a fork to try it. This is what it looks like. It has an interesting taste, interesting flavor. I'd say I'd rate these a 6 or 6.5 out of a 10. So pretty much I'm rating it satisfactory plus. The texture of the dough of the mushrooms, not too chewy. It's a good texture. What I just say is the fact that it has no seasoning in the dough. It's fine if you keep dipping it back in the sauce to get some flavor, but on its own it has no flavor, so you do really need the sauce. Or you can have add a little bit of seasoning to the dough, but it's pretty good. Yeah, if you keep dipping in the sauce, I'd give it a 7. Okay, so a bon. It's good. You could give this a try and let me know what you think. Yeah, it's good. I would definitely make these again. Interesting, very interesting taste. That's fire. That is fire. Love it. It's really good. The more I eat it, the more I like it. It's good. It's good.